Welcome back everyone, I'm Jewel and we are on the Jules Peaceful Valley map in the Giants editor, and we're doing a tutorial today on the roads again. And mostly we're not so much doing the tutorial per se, but we're just working on our map doing the roads. Or my map. And there's some roads that we've done, and there's some I think there's one I have to repair somewhere over there. I haven't fully repaired it yet. I did a little bit of work on it before this, but really didn't want to take up too much time trying to get it straightened out. But it can be done. You have to just maneuver everything. You can see you can get it pretty straight when you do. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this little stretch here from there to there, trying to do the short ones. And I might try to do some of the longer roads off screen because it's going to take way too long. Or I may just do a little bit on video and then like start and then end the video where I finish it or something. But anyway, check back at the other videos if you want to see step by step more thoroughly of each little piece. But basically I'm going to do a run through, but in case I leave something out on this episode, just check back at the first, second, and third or so videos. It's best to watch all of them because each one has a little bit different information, because I do a little bit on some of the bridges, some on the regular parts. I explain how to get it fixed when it's all crooked and stuff and spiraling and things. So you have to watch more than one episode if you want to see some different tips, because I tell different things in different videos. So anyway, I'm still having a little bit of Wi-Fi trouble. I'm looking into a new box. I'm looking into some other stuff. So bear with me on that. I still can't get the Gold Rush game to post. I can't get the Ranch Simulator one to upload without me making a new one, obviously. I don't want to record one and skip that episode for now. If it gets too far out, I'll have to. But basically for now, since it's been a little bit since I did any map making, I figured I'll do a few of these while I'm working on the Wi-Fi problem. Appreciate all the new subscribers. Hope you've been enjoying the content. If you haven't checked out the channel, please look back. I have a lot of playlists. I have some tutorials on Farming Simulator 19 map making. I also am going to be doing Farming Simulator 22 map making as well. So I do have that set up, and I have that game. Obviously I do some gameplay on those, and I had some trouble uploading my Farming Simulator episode. I had an episode of the train, how to use it, and I tried to upload it and it went about 28% worth and just wouldn't keep uploading. So I'm gonna check into that, see what I can get straightened out. But anyway, we're going to get started. And what I have over here, if you can look in the scene graph, if you've never looked in the Giants editor, it's not that bad. It looks a little scary. It's got a lot of information. Don't panic. It's okay. Just relax. It's not that hard. Okay, so we'll do a quick look at that real quick. And basically you have these here up at the top: File, Edit, Create, View, Scripts, Window, and Help. If you'll click on the window spot, it tells you this list, and then you can choose the scene graph, and if you click on it, it'll open the scene graph over here. Then you can also open the attributes box, user attributes, terrain editing, and all these as well, but mostly those are the top four that you're going to need the most. And then you'll also need material editing at times, but you pretty much don't need the rest of it as much as you need those main ones. You can also turn on this one, console. It'll pop up down here at the bottom, and I'll pull it up where you can see that's the console, and you can see it shows where I put in the roads and stuff, and it'll let you know if there's errors or problems or whatever. So just have a look at that every now and again. Pretty much it's best to look at it all the time, so you know if you have any errors or mistakes that you need to address. But for now, we're just going to get started and get this road in. This is a Farming Simulator 19 map. So right now we're going to be on roadway 11. So what I need to do is come up here to Create, click Create, click on Transform Group, and I'm going to close well, I guess I can leave it, but I'm gonna close that for now. And click on transform at the bottom of the list. That's where everything pops up. And you'll come over here to the attributes box. And remember, you just open it up from window to attributes and it'll open it. And then you're gonna make sure that you highlight this where it says transform. You're gonna title this roadway 11. And you need to do it like that. Now if it's your first road, obviously you would do roadway 1. And now when we have that, we need to export it to make an i3D file. So we're going to click on export selection. We're not going to click on export selection with files because that's going to be the last step that we do, because we don't need that right now. We're just getting the i3D file. Now obviously it popped up where I would have needed it, but in the meantime I'm going to click back on downloads to show you the path. So basically, let's have a look at downloads real quickly. Alright, here's my downloads folder, and if you'll scroll down, you'll see Spline Street Constructor Main 1. You see Marker Main 1. What you need to do is, once you download the Spline Street Constructor, and if you look back at my very first video about the Spline Street Constructor, I tell you some places that you can look to potentially get it, but essentially the website I was telling you about closed down. So you need to Google it, and you could maybe find it on Google. It's made by TrackMax, TRACMAX, and if you look at that YouTube channel that I had shown in I believe it was the first video, give him a subscribe, watch his videos about the Spline Street Constructor, and hit the like button, and check his description, and if he still has up the information to get the Spline Street Constructor and the marker that he made, then you can get it there. If he doesn't have it up, try Google, put in Spline Street Constructor, see if you can't find it there, or hopefully if you have a friend that's downloaded it before, you can get it from them. I don't have it readily available at this point on no Google Drive or anything like that, so I can't. Otherwise I would link it, but there's too much stuff going on with my Wi-Fi for me to be doing all that right now. So once you download them, they're going to look like these files where it's zipped up when you first download it. You need to go ahead and make a blank folder, and up here is where you can do that, or you could right click, but it's best just to click up there, it's easier. But you could find a blank spot, right click, come down to new, go over here, go to folder, and left click and pop it up. And then once you do, you're going to title it. It's going to show you, it's going to look like that, but it's going to be empty. You're going to say new folder, type in Spline Street Constructor Main 1. The reason you say Main 1, this is going to be the main one we're using, and we're also going to make a backup copy. So then you're going to also title another blank folder, which you're going to create a new folder, title it Marker Main 1, and if you open it up, you'll see I put the marker in it. But you can see I have a zipped up folder and an unzipped folder. Well, once you've downloaded, you're going to take this zip folder and you're going to cut it. Click cut, then you're going to open, like if that was the one that said it was the marker, you would click cut, you're going to paste it, right click and paste, it would say paste, then you would paste it in here. Then you go in here and it would only be this one, the zipped up one in here. This wouldn't be here yet. You would left click on the zipped up folder, right click on it, and click extract all. It's going to open to this. Then you're going to have the marker, and it's also called a post, and it's also called a plane, which you saw in this scene graph list before. So that's what you need to do for that. Also, you need to click on the marker zipped up folder, and then right click and click copy, not cut, copy. Then you're going to go to the desktop or somewhere else and make an empty folder, blank folder, and then title it marker backup. And also make a new folder and call it Spline Street Constructor backup. So you have a backup copy in case you mess something up while you're using it. So then you got a clean backup copy. Always make an extra new one if you were to mess it up, and you would put it back in the downloads or wherever you're putting it. Alright, so now what you do is we're going to go back here. You do the same thing for this. Once you put the zipped up folder in this new folder you've named, you're going to left click on it, right click on it again, extract all. Okay, then it's going to open to this, and you have all this. Now you're not going to have all this. It depends on where you download it. If you could have got it off the site that I had it on, you wouldn't even have a roadway or a spline. You would have from here to roadway 51. You wouldn't have these because I made those in paint.net and I made a video about it, and you need to watch them if you want to put lines like double lines on your road, as you can see down here. Hang on, let's just shrink it a little bit so we can see. See, it's got double lines on the road, or you could have dotted line. I'll have some that are the dotted lines, etc. You can make your own road paint. So that's what I made these. You'll only come with a blank road with no lines. But if you'll download the paint.net, which I show you in another video, I show you where to get it. I didn't show the full download process because I already had it, but it's a free program. And check out my video on how to get the Giants editor and how to get paint.net and how to get Notepad++. It's all in one video, and it shows you how to get all that so that you can make these, and look at my tutorial to see how to do that. Then you wouldn't come with none of these. You wouldn't come with none of the splines. Then once you get to here and down, you'd have the rest of that. Okay, so that's what I'm showing you right now, is how to make these roadway i3D files and the splines. Okay, so if you want to open the Spline Street Constructor program, you're going to click on this one that says application, double click it, and it opens it up. I'm going to close it because I already have it open, and I'm going to minimize it, and I'm going to click cancel just to repeat the step. I'm going to lower this. Okay, so we're on 11, and what I was telling you, after you named it, you need to make sure it's highlighted. Then you're going to click File, Export Selection, and you're going to come to Downloads because it's not going to pop up for you. Go to Downloads wherever you got it, the main one, and you're going to find the main one here. So once you find it here, double click it, open it, double click that, and it'll open to here. Don't click on any of that. You're going to left click by the file name. You're going to title it Roadway 11, or whichever one you're working on if you're working on Roadway 1, and then make sure it's an i3D file and click Save. Once you do that, I don't know why it's let me just pop it out right here, get rid of that. Okay, so once you do that, in the first video I made of it, I told you could delete that, and we made a new one, but you didn't have to delete it. And of course I said that in the video, you probably don't have to delete it, but I've confirmed that you don't have to delete it in this video, so don't delete that. But once you come up here again, click Create Spline. You're going to pop up a spline down here. You're going to click on that. You're going to click at the end of this where it says spline and put 11 or 1 if it's your first one, or 2 or whatever, corresponding with the other one that you just made. Now then you're going to export this. Export selection, and you're already going to pop up here since you just did it, so you're good to go. You don't got to find it again. But if you didn't pop it up, go through the same process. Downloads, Spline Street Constructor, double click, and then it opens to here. Don't click on any of these. Click right here at the file name and title this Spline 11, or whichever one you're working on. Make sure you don't misspell it. Try to keep it the same as that. Alright, click Save. Make sure it's an i3D file. Now, once you're done with that, you need make sure Spline 11 is highlighted and click Delete. I know. Don't panic. You don't need that. You just needed it to make the i3D file. You probably could have done it, made an i3D file from a transform group and not even did a spline one, but that's what I've been doing, so you know, whatever. But you probably could have just made two transform groups and called one of them spline. You're mainly looking to make an i3D file. Okay, so now once we've done that, we click on roadway 11 and we find this, I'll call it a gizmo. Okay, not sure what the actual name is. Alright, so now what you need is the blue arrow to be facing the way that you're going to be going. And in our case, okay, so Let me click back on it. If you accidentally click off, just make sure you click back on it. If you want to move around, right click and hold it down, and you can move up, down, left, right. And then you can roll in and out with the scroll wheel, and you can do then you can click with your left mouse on what you need. There are other ways to move around, but this is all I'm doing for this tutorial. So now you need to get that blue arrow facing this way, because I'm going to start here and I'm going to end here. So what we need to do is make sure it's highlighted and come over here to rotate Y, and I'm going to put 90 and see what happens. Okay, so that's not the way, so we need something bigger. So let's try 120. Whoops, I made a typo. 120. So that's not enough, so let's try 160. Now that's kind of closer, but it's really not quite, so let's try 180. Now that's pretty good. I think that's decent. That kind of is pointing which way we're going, so I think that's good enough. Now technically, from if I remember correctly, I tested it just to make sure you could do it, and you can highlight this green half circle and twist it from there, but I don't typically do that because you don't want to, you want it to be pretty straightforward and have the least changes and look all nice and neat over here. So I don't usually do that, but I think I remember checking it and just twisting it. I know you can twist it for your other things, but I didn't know if that'd be a problem if you twisted it for the roads. So you can probably just twist it till the arrow's pointing the way that you want, just drag it around. But in this case, like I'll show you like this, twist it, see, like that. But see how it changed all that, and I don't want all that changed, so I'm going to hit undo and put it back to that. So I'm wanting only this one number changed and the rest to be 0. So it's best, in my opinion, to type it under the rotate Y until you get this arrow pointing. Okay, so now we're going to leave that alone, and time to import our marker. File, import, and we're going to come to, it's going to pop up here since we already did it, but if it didn't, go to downloads, which we didn't have our marker in that actually, so we need to open this one, marker main one, open, double click, and then click on post, highlight, it'll highlight, and then you click open, and it's going to put it in at the bottom. Once it does that, if you forget this step that I'm fixing to tell you, then you're going to have problems. So don't forget this step. So it's going to say plane 001. Make sure it's highlighted, come up here, click edit, cut, then you're going to click on the one you're working on, which is, in my case, is roadway 11. You might be on your first one, so whatever that is, and then you're going to click edit, paste. So you're putting it in that transform group. The top one, roadway 11 one, is called the parent, and this plane 001 is called the child. That's their lingo. So now that we have that, make sure the plane 001 is highlighted. Now you're going to hit Control B, and you're going to left click right here. So you're going to hold down Control B and then left click right where you want it, and then left click again to finalize it. Alright, so now we want to make sure this blue arrow is facing the way we're going, and it is. So we're all set there. We're going to roll down, and we need to imagine that there's a road coming through here. Now this is going to be a tricky thing, and I will have to adjust it later because I don't have a road here yet, and I'm not sure how exactly how it's going to go down. So I'm just going to give it a look and just kind of give it the best go that I can. And basically this dot right here in the middle, right there, is the dot where you got to imagine this road's coming across touching. So that's where you want to put that dot, wherever that line and edge of that road's going to be. So pretend there's an edge of the road right there. That's where you want the dot to hit, because it's not this part that matches up to the road, it's this dot that does. So we're going to put it there, and it looks like we're pretty close. Alright, we're pretty close on this being pretty straight coming across. So we're going to lower that down, and that's where we're going to start. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Like I say, these are just painted roads, just temporary roads. They're not going to stay there. These are the ones that'll stay there. So now we're going to hit Control D. Just hit it and let go. Don't hold it down. So now it made a duplicate and you drag it out. If you don't want to hit Control D, come up here to edit while you're on that first one. While you're on this first one, click edit and then duplicate and it'll make another one. And then you can drag it out. Basically it duplicates it inside it and then you're just dragging it out. Make sure that when you do drag it out though, you look over here in the scene graph and make sure you're grabbing the right one. Because if I clicked off of the one that was here, clicked off of it and then clicked back, it might have highlighted the first one, and then if I move it, we got problems because we're out of order. It needs to be in order. This is the first one. Click that one. That's the second one, and then the third one needs to be here. Fourth one needs to be here. If we flip two of them out of order, then that's where we're going to have our error at. So remember that, and I'm going to drag this over very slightly and turn it very slightly with this little gizmo here. So you can also lower it after you scroll in just a little till it gets where you think it looks good. You probably want it about like that. Alright, so now we're going to hit Control D again, let go, drag forward, gently turn it just a little, and I think we're pretty good on that spot. I think it's at the right level. This one can actually go down, so we'll click on it and go down a little bit. Click back on the third one, click Control D, it duplicates it, drag it forward with the blue, and if it's a flat area that's all flat, like this is pretty flat, you can, once we get on the straightaway, you can go further apart with these markers. But if you're turning, you want to kind of keep the markers closer like that, like more of them. You wouldn't put one here. You can. It's a certain way you have to do it. That guy did a video and it worked for him, but sometimes I've done it and it doesn't seem to want to make the turn too nicely. So I use more markers. So do it the best way you can. If you can watch his video and get a better idea on that part, then do that, because it might help you on that. But I like to just put the markers down and be done with it. Alright, so we're going to gently turn this one to start getting our curve, and we're going to hit Control D. Going to drag it out, turn it some more, just a little, not that much. Going to lower it just a bit, and then we're going to hit Control D and go forward, and we're going to go over just a little and turn it just a little. We don't have to hit this road because this is just a guide. Control D, move forward and roll in, and as you can see, we need to adjust that one just a little bit, so we'll click back on it, lift it up just a little, and you can also, if you want to, take and click on this blue half circle and you can tilt it right there. See how it's a little bit angled? You can tilt it there. Okay, so now we're going to click on here, turn it just a little, Control D, drag it forward, and then we can also see this red half circle right there. If it's angled, you can tip it where you need it, so just adjust it accordingly like that. And you don't want to do it too much. If it's on a straightaway, you're probably going to leave it where it's at. We can adjust this a little bit since it's slightly angled. We'll turn this just a little bit to get our curve going on. Now we'll hit Control D, drag it forward, and again we're going to tip this, and we're going to lower it, tip it a little more, and tilt it around slightly. As you can see, that's our road being built. We might have a little issue there. That looks like there may be a problem, but we'll see. We'll just have to see. Then jump back over here and Control D, drag it out, tip it over, lower it, tip it over a little more, lower it. It's probably good there. We might tip this one over just a bit more and lower it just a little bit. Click back on the last one, Control D, drag forward, lower it, and gently tip it this way. And you don't want to go all the way into the ground necessarily, because we can adjust that with the translate Y. So now we're going to hit Control D, drag it forward, roll in with the scroll wheel, lower it, tilt it, and we're happy with that. So now we're going to hit Control D and drag it forward. And we could go further and not have as many, but for now I'm just going to keep it as is. Control D, drag it forward. Now I'll go a little further with that one and see if that is satisfying the program when I run it through it. We'll tip this just a little, lower it, make sure everything's lining up. Control D, and we're almost to the end. I'm gonna turn it, I'm gonna drag it over a little, turn it just a little, lower it just a little. Control D, bring it forward. As you can see, we're dropping down a little bit here, and you got to be careful, because if you accidentally spin it, let me spin it just to show you. Say you spin it and you mess up, you're like, no, I can't get it right, it won't work. Just click undo, and in our case I'll have to click it twice to get it back. But try to do that very slowly, or you'll mess up Giants Editor and jam it up. So for now, that's good. We're going to lower it just a little more, tip it just a little, lower it just a little, and that's good. This one can be lower just a little more, because you're trying to keep them all pretty close where they're smooth and go across nicely. Control D, and drag it out, roll up, lower it, and that's pretty good. Control D for the last one, drag it forward, roll up here. And on this one is a little more tricky. You got to drag it out to the edge of the road and twist it. And we're going to pretty much leave it where it was and hope that that keeps the angle properly. But we're going to twist it a decent amount because the road would come right here. So we're going to try to put that dot right where we think that road's going to line up at. And remember, some of this may have to be changed, so we may make that road just go straight. It just depends. You just have to adjust it accordingly as you go. So we're going to lower this. We're going to tip it a little to get it more level, and have a look at these. We might run into problems with these two, because it's at the end, and it may not like how we've set it up. So now that we've done all of those, we have this whole list of planes. We're going to click the roadway 11 at the top, and it's going to highlight all those. Now if you didn't cut and paste this very first one and put it into this roadway 11, it's not going to highlight them all, or it will highlight them separately because they'll be outside of the group, but it's not going to work the way you want. It's a problem. So if you accidentally didn't put it in there, you need to delete them, because once you don't put them in there, even if you cut them and paste them in there, they're not going to be in the right spot. It's going to move them. So you need to do it right to start with. But once you see it all highlight, you know you're good to go. And you come to File, Export Selection. You're going to click on Downloads, Spline Street Constructor. Open the Spline Street Constructor folder into this area, and you're going to look into this list and look for Spline 11 that you made. You're going to click on it. It's going to pop up in this box. It needs to say i3D. Click Save, and it's going to say, do you want to replace it? Click Yes. You need to replace it because it's putting all these new coordinates into this i3D. Now we're going to open this, and obviously I showed you earlier how to do that. Just go under here and double click on the application where it says Application by the Spline Street Constructor, and it'll open this. Once it opens this, you're going to click on Load Parameter. I'm going to go ahead and do it again even though I've already done it. So it's going to pop this up. You're going to click Strasse for street. Click Open. It's going to pop this up. This here is the grass, it's the edge, it's basically a curved, if you can imagine the road being flat, and then on the edges it has a curved piece of grass. Click this right here and you'll see, this is a flat road and then a curved piece, and it's a piece of grass called verge. And if you click on this, if you close that, click this check mark, and then you click over here, copy. That basically copied this to this side. Then you have, and you click on this, you have both sides grass. So that's grass, then it's a flat road, then it's grass. We don't need that. You don't even have to click this if you don't want to. That's just to show you what it looks like. I don't want the grass. It's too hard to get the road or the ground up around the road properly, in my opinion. So I don't want it. So I only want the road. So if we click on it now, we see that it's just a flat road, and that's what I want. So you can close that. You don't need it. If this is the first time you're using the Spline Street Constructor, you need to click on this right here. It's going to open this. You can drag it over right there, and it'll say 555 whatever, and you need to change all these first 4 boxes to 1, in my opinion. Other people have done different numbers, but for now, while you're learning, just do 1, and if you learn something new later, like you can adjust it. You just got to put these words into Google Translate, and basically you'll be able to tell what it says fully, and then you'll decide what you need to do. But basically 1 works, and I don't see any reason to change it. Then leave the rest, click OK, and you don't have to change it anymore but once, unless somehow you delete it, the program, and put a new one in. But I'm going to click cancel because I don't need to change it. It's already there. Then we're going to come up here, and in my case it says roadway 9 because that's what I was working on one that it didn't work right in the last episode, a previous one. But in this case I'm just going to take away the 9, but you would put roadway whatever you're working on, and in this case it's 11. Then I'm going to click I3D file, and I'm going to find the roadway 11 and click on it. You click whichever one you're working on, click save. Now that we've done that, I'm going to click here. It usually says 7, and it's the road width. This word is the road width, so I'm going to put it on 9 because that's what I've been doing, I think. If not, if I put it on 10 on the other ones, I'll change it later to 10. And then you click on this, and in your case you're only going to have this one, road 51. It's blank and plain, no lines. I gotta delete this one, but because it's crooked. But I made another one, a double line, and it's called double yellow line, and I made the dotted lines and so on. I technically could put a dotted line one here, but the road's so short there's no need that you would be passing nobody. So I'm just going to put a double yellow line and click open. Now we're going to click this here, and it's the spline area, and that's those little white markers that we made. So we're going to click this and pick the spline 11. Then we're going to click open. It's going to put the coordinates in and put these coordinates in, and if we minimize this, let me see, it says it's 18 of these little white things, which are called markers, planes, and posts. And it has this, and apparently most of them are 0 on the rotation. I didn't think that was the case, but if you click on this arrow here, not this one, as I made a mistake in the last video, you click this, you can see each one. Okay, so when I started turning them, they started having the rotation. Okay, so if it you didn't turn it, then you don't have a rotation. There we go. Okay, so basically that shows all that, and if you'll look, this is just me explaining so you understand it a little more. You don't have to know this. Basically, if you click on this very first one and you look up here, translate Y, X, and Z, and rotate X, Y, and Z, you can see these numbers. We'll say minus 162 and 127. So we'll click back on here, minus 162, and here's 127, and then we look back at minus 140. And then all these are zeros, all these are zeros. So if you was to look at and click on each of those markers, you would see a new set of numbers up here. So that's all that is. It's showing you all the numbers so that when it makes your road and generates your road, it'll be at exactly those rotations and placement. So now that we put all these things in already, we're ready to go. And we're going to click go. It's going to pop this up. If you see this, usually it's okay. Otherwise, you're going to get an error. Your error might say number 7 and 8 are a problem. When they say that, they're not going to say number. They're going to say something else, spline something. They're going to say this word, spline, puncti, or however you say that. This is German. They're going to say that, and it could be, say these are 7 and 8. Say they say 7 and 8. Say this is 7 and this is 8. Then you might have switched them, meaning you might have supposed to had, say this one says 7. Where is it? Over there. You might have had the order wrong. So see how it goes in order? You might accidentally have this one here and that one there, and so when you click on it, it don't stay in order in this list. It needs to go in an exact order as you go right along, and then you'll have it. So if that might be an error you might get, and then you'll have to just troubleshoot any errors you might get. And I have some videos. If you watch the whole thing, you'll see where I work through errors just to show you on screen in the tutorials of the road spline street constructor. So now we've done that, we're going to minimize this, not X out, because we don't want to have to put this information in again. We only want to have to change this one if we have to adjust anything. So now we're going to minimize it and save that in case we have to go back to it. We're going to come over here and it's time to import. So click File, Import. We're going to click Roadway 11. That's what you find in the Spline Street Constructor Main 1 folder. Click Open. It's going to pop it at the bottom. Make sure it's highlighted. Did I click the wrong one? Maybe I clicked the wrong one. It says Roadway 8. Let me back out of that. That's not what I want. Alright. File, Import, Roadway 11. Open. Okay. So make sure it's right, because see, if I hadn't, that would have been a problem. When it's highlighted, click Edit, Cut, click on Roadway 11, Edit, Paste. Once you do that, don't mess with that, leave it highlighted. Come over here to Translate Y, make that highlighted, press the period, or say dot, and 47. It's going to pop your road up, and there you go. And you can see that these kind of roads are easier if it's not a lot of up and down and every which way. But this other road over here, I don't even know if I can find it somewhere else. Might be over here. I'm having a little trouble with, but you can see I've got all the rest of this worked out. But this little part I'm having some issues with, so I might have to adjust it, make it more straight, or whatever I got to do, I'll adjust it. But that's what I was working on. So you just basically have to keep messing with it. And normally, if you see this part here up, you click on the one that it's up on, like that it's up on this side. You would click on this one and tip it that way. You would go down on the side that it's showing the road is up, and on this one it's showing it's up here, so you would go down on this side. Even though it looks silly on the marker, that's how you would work it out, and then you just keep doing however you need to do it. But in this case, I'll work on it some off screen because I don't want to take so long to deal with that. But let's go back to what we were doing. I think I'm lost now. Oh, it's way over here, I think. Let me see. Here we are. So anyway, now that's our road. It looks nice, as you can see. And it ain't always a problem like that road that you just saw. So if you keep it more simplified, then you can still get your curves and everything, and you not have all that mess that I had over there. So now we need to, there's another more steps we have to do. So now that we have that in place, right down here, if you were satisfied with this road and you're not going to need to do anything else, you're not going to have to make the road wider, you're not going to need to move it. Say if you're doing all your roads, when I do this road here, I may have to move this marker here and move it forward and remake this road. Let's pretend that I had to do that. So let's say I put this road in and I'm a little off and I need to back this little piece up just a little, and my road will fit perfectly. So let's move it. Alright, well, now that I moved it, I got a problem. I need to rerun it through the thing because it needs to move the road back. So what you're going to do if you need to rerun it for errors of any kind, and that's if it said you had this one was an error and that one was an error, and then you fixed it and you got to rerun it, well, what you do is you're going to come down to the bottom, delete the road. Don't delete this one, just the bottom one that you generated after you made it in the Spline Street Constructor thing. So you're going to delete this one, just the road, not the markers. I've already moved the marker now while the road was there. So now I'm going to click back on roadway 11. It's going to highlight all my markers, and then I'm going to come to File, Export Selection, and I'm going to roll down to Spline 11. I'm going to click on it. Then I'm going to click, make sure it says all that, the i3D and all, and hit Save. It's going to say, do you want to replace it? Replace it. Yes. We're going to go to the Spline Street Constructor. We're going to click on this folder. We're going to go to Spline 11. Click on it. Click Open. We're going to click Go. Now we're going to minimize. Going to come back over here into the Giants Editor, File, Import. Go to Roadway 11. Click on that. Click Open. Pops it at your bottom of your list. You're going to click Edit, Cut. Click on Roadway 11, Edit, Paste. Now it's put it there, but now you need to go to Translate Y and put 0.47. It's going to fix it back. Now you can see I made it wider because I pulled it back a little. So see, that's what you do. That's the steps you take without having to retype in all this information. If you X out when you do that first one and you don't just minimize it, then you got to load roadway 11. You got to load the roadway 11 here. You click Save. You got to do all that over again. Okay, so click Cancel. And you got to do this one first. You got to do all that steps that I showed you over again. If you don't X out of it and you just minimized it and you click back on it and you bring it back up and click on it, then you'd only have to click here to change the spline that you're working on and click Open. And then you would hit Go again and you're good. And you could do that hundreds of times and keep changing whatever you need to change. And that's why I leave it this way, because I could come in here right now, rerun it, change the size of the road and have a wider road or whatever I need. But if you delete these little planes, you can't change it. You're stuck with your road the way it is. Then you'd have to lay them all out again. So what I suggest, until you're fully finished, leave the markers. Make all your roads so you can adjust this little marker, tilt it a little, get it perfectly lined up with your road, the level, the height, everything. So leave the markers. I'm leaving the markers until I'm fully finished with all my roads, and then I will do the last step of making it finalized. But I'm going to show you real quickly the last step. Okay, what you would do if you're happy and you've finalized your whole map. You're going to come to the top up here where it says the first plane 001. Click on it. That's your first one you put down for this road. Then you're going to hold down Control Shift and you're going to click on the last plane. Not the roadway at the bottom, but the last plane. So you're going to get all the planes highlighted. So as soon as you click on that, let go of Shift and Control. So you're going to click on the top one, and then you're going to hit Control and Shift, hold it down, click on the bottom one, let go of all of it. Okay? And it's going to highlight it all. Then you're going to click Delete. Well, I'm not going to click that on my keyboard because I don't want to delete it. But if you're finalizing it and you're happy, you're going to delete it. So boom, deleted, pretend it's deleted right now, and we're happy. And now we would only have this roadway 11 and this one in this little group. Okay? Once that's happened and all these are deleted, you're ready to export this to make it final. So then we're going to highlight the top one, the parent, which is this one here, not the second one. And we're going to click File, Export Selection with Files. This is the time that you're going to click it with Files because you want all the information now. So if we click that, we're going to come to here. Well, we don't want to be here. We want to be in the map that we are working on. And in that case, it should be, in my opinion, you should be working on it in your mods folder of your game, because then you can test it out easier without moving it all the time. But wherever it is, wherever you're working on it, that's where you would go into your map that you're working on. And in this case, it's Jules Peaceful Valley, so I'll go to Documents, My Games, and I'm double clicking on those. Farming Sim 19, double click, Mods, double click, and Jules Peaceful Valley, double click, and Maps, double click. And in this case, I would be putting my road into the Objects folder, or you could make a folder called Roads and put the roads in it. I'm going to put it in the Objects folder in this case, but I'm not really putting it there. I'm just showing you the path and the steps. So we're going to double click on Okay, it didn't work. Double click on it. If you click too slow, it makes it do that, so you just have to redouble click it. Alright, so now we're in the objects folder, and as you can see, I already did the first one, and it has an i3D in here. So what the goal is, you don't highlight any of that. You just click here, and you title it Roadway 11, which I'm not going to do. Then you click Save. Make sure it's on i3D and click Save. That'll put this road here into your map, into this area in the objects folder. I'm not going to do that. But now you need to do one more step from my understanding, and I haven't done this step because I haven't finalized my roads, except I think the first one I did. And from my understanding, see this over here where it says material and it says Joule, it says download, spline, etc. It has what the information is. You need to come back up here after you put that in your map objects folder and click File, Import. Then you're going to go to Documents, My Games, FS19, Mods, Jules Peaceful Valley, or your map, Maps, Objects, and you'd find that i3D that you put in there. And in this case, I'm going to click on Roadway 1, but it's going to be whichever one you're working on. In my case would be Roadway 11 if I had put it in there. And then you're going to click Open, and it should put it where it is. If not, I'm assuming you would have to, after opening it, would put it down here. If you had to, I guess you would put it in this. If it didn't put it where it should be, it should put it where it should be, like right back where it should be. But if not, you'd have to work out that and make it fit that. And then you would have your coordinates, and it would show up in the game. Otherwise, it might not show up in the game, because if you don't export it with files and then import it back, then it's not going to have the path, meaning it's not going to say this path here. Documents, My Games, FS19, Mods, Jules Peaceful Valley, Maps, and then of course you would find the Objects folder here. This is your path, and of course it might only say Jules Peaceful Valley, Maps, or Objects, or whatever, because it only goes so far. It doesn't have to go through the whole thing. But essentially, it would put the path in there, and it would give you all your texture and whatever else you need. So I hope that makes sense. Then you need to make sure you hit save, and then you should go on in the game and test it. And again, if you want to test it, you need to always, before you test anything you do, click on career start point, hold down Control B and left click right here, and it will put your career start point right here. You click it, you left click twice, once and then over a little bit, and then basically when you hit save, and when you come in the game, you'll be right here, and you can check your road out without having to run 100 miles across the map. And you also need to go ahead and move your gameplay. Click on gameplay, hit Control B, click somewhere flat, preferably near where you're working, and then it'll put the gameplay here. Then once you can get in the game, you can hit the P and then on the keyboard, and it'll pull up where you can buy the truck. You'll buy or rent a truck so you can test out the road or whatever you're working on. So that's the best way to do it. Make sure you hit save always after you do something in the Giants editor. It won't be changed in the game. And that's going to be it for this episode. I hope it made sense. I tried to really go into detail to explain, and as you can see, the road looks pretty nice. And you can also adjust the ground around it with this terrain sculpt mode. If there is anything on the road, you would make sure the right mouse button is on smooth, the left mouse button is on subtract in the terrain editing area. Keep these right here on a lower side over here. If you have them way over here, it's going to go too quickly and make too big of a hole. So you want it to go very slowly, and you're going to hold down the right mouse button and smooth it out and make sure that there's nothing on your road, like the ground is up on your road. You'd move it, and if it won't work with the smooth, then you would use the subtract. But that's going to be it. Then of course always hit save. So I'm going to hit save. When you're done, make sure you wait till it's finished, or you will crash your computer. And always make a backup of your map you're working on. So make another copy of it. But I appreciate it. Hope everybody enjoyed. I'm going to catch you on the next one. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell if you want to receive a notification every time I post a video. Goodbye, everybody.